This episode was originally uploaded on October 7th, 2024, 2 days after my birthday. Full season on Spotify now or wherever you post your pods, baby.
It's Lucky's really long list of movies. Jesus Christ. Ooh, we are in a new month, which means a new category. Thank God. Those romance movies were killing me slowly. Yeah, so we are kicking off this month's super creative and unique, never before covered category of Halloween. Halloween is my favorite time of year because I too suffer from depression, social anxiety, and adulthood in America. So I need the whimsical color pairings of purple, green, and orange, and maybe I need the welcoming, glowing smile of jack-o'-lanterns and cute little black cats. Isn't that right, cowboy? But because of depression and American adulthood, my soul is usually shaken and rattled past the point of pain, and I'm left numb. So, just like the whimsical side of Halloween, sometimes I need the bloody side of Halloween. So what if I need the disturbingly curious and macabre storylines and some cartoonish or eerily accurate on-screen fake blood splatter? I need to hear the shriek of women shedding their mortal skin and losing their shit. But I don't think I have any Mia Goth in this lineup. I've never seen Mia Goth. I haven't seen any of her movies yet. Oh my god, yeah, I know. So to kick off this month of Halloween horror is a Christmas movie. I did not know this was a Christmas movie. But whatever. So this movie almost made it onto the first category of the season. If you remember, the first category I had was movies that make people scream at me because I haven't seen the movie yet or whatever. Yeah, this week, we're talking about Gremlins. Okay, so before we jump into everything, I'm going to do a 1-minute recap, which I'm sure everybody hates, but I love. So I'm going to sum up the movie in 1 minute or less. Okay, here we go. Whew! I always get so nervous. Because this means so much to me. Okay. Gremlins in 1 minute or less. And go. Well, this inventor dad is in Chinatown looking for the perfect gift for his teen. Was he a teen or was he in his 20s? We don't know how old his kid was. Either way, this inventor dad is looking for the perfect gift for his young old son boy. The dad finds a new species of animal inside of a super whimsical shop in Chinatown. Well, he buys this little singing furball for $200, which is a lot of money back then. And then boom, the dad gives this animal as a pet to his son because if anyone wants anything for the holidays, it's to receive an unexpected and very large amount of emotional, physical, mental, and financial responsibility. Merry Christmas! This animal is called a mogwai. And there are 3 rules to having this animal. 1, no sunlight or it dies. 2, don't get water on it or else it gets pregnant. 3, no food after midnight or else it turns into a demon. And you'll never guess what happens next. The animal gets pregnant, the babies turn into demons after a midnight snack, and the mother, Gizmo, and Billy had to kill all of these demon children with sunlight, explosives, Polaroids, and some of the faulty family inventions. Then the son boy starts to fall in love with the girl, but it turns out she hates Christmas because her dad died in a chimney and he was rotting in a Santa suit for like 5 days. And the shop owner rescues the animal from the shitty suburban white people, and then the Christmas was saved, but not really because people died and the town was basically destroyed. 3 seconds over. 3 seconds over. I'm still counting that as a win. I did it. Woohoo! Yay, you did it. You could have done better. Yay. Okay, who are we cheering for? Wow, I am so lightheaded. Woo! I am overwhelmingly lightheaded. Let's keep going. Let's see where this train takes us, huh? All right, so on to my first take. It's time to admit I am a big ol' silly Willy and I forgot to record my first take. If you're new here, hi! And to fill you in, usually after I watch one of my movies from my list, I either jump into the booth and I record my first take, on mic. Sometimes I even do it like a little phone video if I'm feeling really lazy or if it's just been so hot lately. And sometimes I even write it out. Apparently, I only do that when I'm feeling busy. So, but this time, I totally forgot. But there is a bit of a clip from my reaction video where I kind of gave some thoughts after when the credits start rolling, and I'll play a bit of that for you now. Taking out my phone again. Excuse me. God. What is it when you go to take out your phone, you just have muscle memory to open up the exact app that you don't need, and then you just end up on TikTok for another fucking 5 hours? Anyway. Where is the video? There she is. Okay. I'm excited to clean my face. Also, that was crazy. That was a bit more violent than I thought it was going to be. I truly don't know what I was expecting. People died. People died in that movie. A dog was hung up by Christmas lights. That girl's dad died in her chimney. That was a lot. I'm so happy that man came back and rescued Gizmo from those fucking people. That town is full of shitheads. Karma. Except for the girl and the mom. Ooh, chills. Gotta pee. And that's where the video stops. Well, that was kind of a first reaction. Yeah, that movie was way more violent and gory than I thought it would be. The humans, they got away with a few scratches here and there. Or they were straight up killed, And yeah, everyone in that town was an absolute piece of shit. Except for the girl and the mom, and the jury's kind of out on the dad. I don't know. If anything, I thought the girl and the mom had the most progressive and interesting writing. Everyone else was just filler. Like asshole filler. Oh my god, imagine. That's the new cosmetic craze. Asshole filler. Is your butthole old and wrinkled? Get asshole filler and turn that donut into a fully inflated inner tube, you hot, sexy bitch. All right, enough of that. Now we're moving on to a segment that I call My Favorite Ladies. Okay, so we know about Billy, the son boy, and we know about the dad, who is a good dad, but a failure of an inventor. I don't know how he is as a husband. I'm not sure. But the most badass characters in the movie are Kate Beringer, the love interest, and the mom, Mrs. Peltzer, or as we will be calling her, Lynn. That's her name. We had Lynn going on a slaughtering spree, and then we had Kate, the love interest, have the darkest connection to Christmas. We'll start with Kate Beringer, played by Phoebe Cates. And apparently Phoebe signed on to play Kate after she read the monologue. What monologue am I talking about? Well, it's the monologue I've talked about at least 2 or 3 times already. But if you still don't know, it's okay. Well, it's the monologue that Kate delivers in the middle of mayhem as she's staring at a dying Christmas tree and the lights are blinking in her face. Kate goes on to talk about how one Christmas she was decorating the tree with her mom and they were waiting for the dad to get home. Well, he doesn't come home that night or the next night, and then 5 days pass, and then Kate lights a fire in the fireplace and the house starts to get all stinky. So they call the fire department and expect them, to pull out a dead cat or something. But instead they pull out her dead dad, who is wearing a Santa suit and was also holding presents. And then Kate wraps up this iconic monologue with, "And that's how I found out Santa isn't real." Because that is the tragedy here. This monologue is nuts. Not only is it wild and sad and disturbing, but the movie's director, Joe Dante, says that this monologue sums up the entire vibe of the movie. Because when you're listening to this story about Kate's barbecue Santa Papa, you don't know if you should laugh or be mortified. And that's the vibe of the movie. Should you laugh or should you be freaked out? Be both. Why not? Anyway, this monologue isn't what made me love Kate. Believe it or not, I loved Kate way before this. I love Kate because she's a humanitarian. She works at the local bank during the day, and then she pulls shifts at the dive bar at night. We first see Kate getting Billy to do something useful, for once, like sign a petition to make an establishment a historical landmark so the shitty Deagles don't shut down the property. Hell yeah, fight the system, Kate. Then we see her at the bar, doing more work, swerving rich finance bros, and doing the Lord's work. Waitressing and bartending. I think she was doing all of it, honestly. And she was so real on that walk home with Billy. And Billy was just like pissing me off. So Billy and Kate are walking home, right? In the snow, there are carolers everywhere and decorations everywhere. So Billy, understandably, he just starts talking about Christmas. And then Kate is like, Christmas blows. I don't like Christmas. And when someone tells you they don't like Christmas, you should assume there is an immediate and intimate bad thing, that like probably happened to them on Christmas. So you should like stop pressing Christmas and chill out with like the Christmas cheer, So what does Billy do after that? Well, he flings his arms open and he spins in a circle and he's like, what? Christmas is the most magicalest time ever in the year. And then Kate is like, yeah, but like not for everybody though. And then Billy is like, how is that even possible? It's Christmas. The one day where nothing goes wrong for anyone ever. And then Kate says, this is actually a direct quote. While some people are opening presents, other people are opening their wrists. Like, damn, girl. Please don't sugarcoat it. And then Billy still goes on about Christmas. He is He still goes on about Christmas. And then he asks her on a date. Annoying. You're a piece of shit, Billy. What should he have done? He should have been like, damn, girl, that's crazy. I think he said something like, I didn't know other people didn't like it. But then he like goes back on his bullshit so immediately. And then he's like, you want to go on a date? Sure. I need a distraction from this shitty time of the year. God. I don't like Billy, honestly. Like, Billy is also a piece of shit because he made Gizmo bleed within 1 day of having him. He gives animals to laboratories for testing. Boo. He doesn't have friends his age and only hangs out with like a 7-year-old. Red flag. He can't contain his dog. That's annoying. He knows too much about blowing up buildings. And I'm gonna think of more later. Anyway, back to Kate. I was hoping Kate would kick more ass, to be honest. I thought she was gonna like unleash a can of whoop ass. But dude, she is so depressed. This was just more trauma for her to deal with, and she's just trying to get through the goddamn day. And she already works so much, so she was tired. She works like at the top 2 places I don't want to work. The bank and the bar. I know. I've actually spent a lot of time working in bars, and of course I would pick a bar over a bank. But drunk people make me anxious. That's a fact now. That is just a fact of my life now. And rich people make me angry. Do I need to say more? Should we go back to the Parasite episode? Anyway, I will say Kate did kick ass in the bar. I know she was just using like a Polaroid camera, but like, who cares? She was doing it. She was held up at gunpoint. Oh, and a little behind the scenes about Phoebe Cates, the actress, and this like Gremlins taking over her pub kind of scene. Some of her screams during that scene were real. But it wasn't the sparks and the flying bottles and puppets and, explosions and stuff. It was because the set was infested with roaches. and roaches were crawling all over the bar, and you can see it in the movie, and it is so gross. I hate roaches. But that made me think, if all movie sets are like bug infested, like all these like fake towns and houses are just like outside and exciting stuff is happening to them all the time, like food fights, faulty inventions, explosions, and all that. I mean, the backlot that they used for Gremlins was also used in Back to the Future. Like, it's still the same town square and everything. And then also, like, one of the houses in the neighborhood, in Billy's neighborhood, belonged to the Munsters. Another belonged to Leave It to Beaver. And, like, the list goes on and on. So, like, with all these houses and all these places, because it's like, for every person you see on screen, there's about like 20 other people behind camera. So there's a lot of people. There's a lot of food. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of just stuff going on, and I'm sure they hire people to clean, but it's just like, that's a big thing to clean up. You have to clean up an entire town and keep the roaches out. You can't even keep roaches out of like a normal town. I don't know anymore. So it just makes me wonder about these little roaches. So it really makes me think, I'm like, was that on purpose, or is that just like a characteristic of a backlot? No, it was probably on purpose. Those roaches were probably on purpose and brought in for the movie Gremlins and not like an overall issue. Maybe. I don't know. I've worked for billionaires and I have been in roach-infested offices. Wow, I'm asking the hard-hitting questions here, folks. Were the roaches on purpose? We all want to know. Moving on. We're moving on to Lynn. Lynn Peltzer. Hell yeah. The mom, played by Frances Lee McCain. And speaking of Back to the Future, she played the mom of the love interest in Back to the Future, so she went back to that lot. Good for her, girl. Good for her. And I just gotta say, wow, I love Lynn so much. There is so much going on with her, and we got so much from her. And then she was gone. We first see Lynn, Mrs. Peltzer, in the kitchen, and she's giving a 1,000-yard stare to the kitchen TV while she just cuts onions. And this kitchen is fully equipped with her husband's inventions that suck and misfire and explode literally all the time. There's an egg machine that looks like it could take a hand off. Then there is that orange juice machine that destroyed the entire kitchen. And Billy isn't helping to clean it up, because he just goes upstairs and changes his shirt and then gets Gizmo pregnant. Lynn, she's so moody in her mid-century piss yellow kitchen, in her housewife uniform, and just to see her staring at It's a Beautiful Life and looking like she is just watching a slideshow of like all of her regrets in life that led her here just like flash before her eyes. And she's just chopping onions and not shedding a single tear. And then Billy is like, "Mom, what's wrong?" And she's like, "Nothing. I'm just sad." And then she's also telling Billy, her grown-ass son, to give up on using his father's failed invention. Oh my God. Just give Lynn a cigarette, please. She needs one. That's the only thing that was missing from this movie, is a cigarette for Lynn. Oh my God. Is Billy paying the bills in that house? He works at the bank. His mom is a stay-at-home mom. His dad is a failed inventor that no one is like buying his stuff. Huh. Either way, I still want to know more about Lynn. Like, who is Lynn? Not Mrs. Peltzer. Lynn. Who is Lynn? Who was Lynn supposed to be? Oh, actually, I think we do get to know Lynn. At least like one side of her. When she's slaughtering all of those gremlins in the kitchen. And there is this moment that Lynn has during this killing spree that is art. I don't know how else to put it. It was art. So what I'm talking about is when Lynn is like creeping around the house with a knife. She knows she has to kill. She has accepted that. Then she kills her first gremlin. She's scared. It's all happening so fast. Then boom! The gremlin is dead. And then Lynn is aware of her power. And she goes into the kitchen. Her eyes are just peeled open. full of curiosity and excitement and adrenaline and fear. And then she like turns on a blender and like pulverizes another gremlin. That could have been her first kill actually, was the blender. Either way, whatever. Goop is flying everywhere. She doesn't fucking care. Oh yeah, baby. It's time for Lynn to make a big fucking mess in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Lynn has had it up to here with her husband's inventions and his bright fucking ideas. Like really like a secret species as a Christmas gift? Come on! Like you see it in her eyes. She likes it. This is therapy for her. She likes letting her rage out. And then the gremlins start throwing plates at her. Like, just like start chucking these plates at her. And Lynn, like a gladiator, picks up a TV tray. She picks up a TV tray in one hand. She has a giant knife in the other. And she is they're throwing plates at her and she's like, ching, 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 deflected. And then she like charges at the gremlins and she just starts going psycho. Movie reference. Oh, but like, she starts stabbing the crap out of this gremlin. And then she goes and she microwaves another gremlin. And she cleared the kitchen. Like to the point to where Stripe was like the last one left, I think. Yeah? It was just Stripe, right? Or was there like 2 more left? No, it had to be Stripe. Look, I can't like watch this movie 1,000 times because it is a Spielberg film, 1. 2, I couldn't find it on any of the streaming platforms that I had. So like I have to like rent it off of YouTube. And after renting The Bodyguard for about 3 times, I could only afford to rent Gremlins 2 times because Gremlins is more expensive than The Bodyguard. And so I had to make some choices. So I don't know. A lot was happening in this movie. Okay, it's a lot to keep track of. Okay, and that's why I love it. So anyway, Lynn, she clears the kitchen. And she even goes to the next room to kill more. She's like, I am on a roll. And I'm going to kill. I'm going to keep killing these things because I am Lynn and I'm here to fuck your shit up. And she like goes into the living room. She sees movement in a stocking. She hesitates a little bit, but then she's like, fuck this. And she stabs it. And it's just a little robot. But then she gets attacked by a gremlin in a tree. I know. But, then like Billy saves his mom. So, I guess it's like 2 good things Billy is doing. So he's not like a total asshole. So speaking of the story, the script, even though I still thought like Gremlins was like really gory and everything, like it was actually supposed to be more gory. Is this a good transition? But yeah. Ooh, so much went into this. And it's getting really hot in my booth and my brain is melting, actually melting. So we're going to be moving on. It's one of the roughest transitions I've ever done. Okay. Alrighty. So the behind the scenes and the making of this movie, all of this is delicious. There is a bunch of interesting little tidbits about the script, the director and the cast, and of course the special effects and the impact this movie had on this freaking country, and what this movie and the Raiders of the Lost Ark did to cinema history. Oh yeah. So let's start with the script, shall we? Like a majority of films, this movie started with a script. Spielberg had just launched his new production company, Amblin, and was sifting through stacks and stacks of scripts and found a script called Gremlins, written by Chris Columbus. No, that's really his name. Chris Columbus. That's really his name. And honestly, this should be the only Chris Columbus we should give a crap about. Not that absolute asshole and colonizing creep from my Southern public school history books. Ew. Yeah, so Chris Columbus. Chris. He's much cooler than Christopher. He's Chris. And he also went on to work on a lot of stuff that we love, like The Goonies, Home Alone, the classics. There's also a lot more. So the original script written by Cool Boy Chris was really, really, really violent. More of like R-rated material. Like, for instance, Gizmo, He was actually supposed to be the gremlin that turned into Stripe. Could you imagine how sad that would be? Billy would have to kill Gizmo because Gizmo turned into a devil thing. That's really sad. And the mom, she didn't have a badass fight. She was beheaded and her head was thrown down the stairs. Lynn! Oh my God. And the dog was killed in the original script. And an entire McDonald's was attacked and like all the people were killed, but they left all the food behind. God, Chris, I thought you were cool. Chill. Spielberg bought the script and he switched it up a bit, right? He's flipping the script, but he didn't flip it. He just switched it up a little bit. And Chris Columbus like made revision after revision based on Spielberg's guidance. Spielberg said that Gizmo should remain cute so the audience and Billy had something to connect to. And I think that was a major improvement. I was already sad enough that Gizmo was getting put through the fucking ringer. And it's like, everyone like liked the idea of Gizmo, but like nobody saw Gizmo and nobody like listened to Gizmo and like nobody like loved him for real. Like, you know what I mean? It's like if he says bright light, Billy, can you remember to turn off the lights? Like, how many times does this guy does this little creature have to tell you? Bright light, bright light. Like, Jesus. Anyway, so all of the killings were taken out, or they were like softened up a bit. And I'm so happy Lynn and the dog made it. Oh, thank God. Wow, this script part stressed me out. Ugh, let's move on to the director and the casting, please. So, the script is written, and it's time to find a director and some actors. This is a Spielberg film, but he went pretty much like hands off after filming started. And I think that's because he had like Raiders of the Lost Ark going off at the same time. And so he was like split in between a couple of different movies, but he seemed pretty chill about it. Spielberg is really nonchalant about being like, yeah, I wasn't there. Which I think is great because he hired the right people and he got out of their way after he was like, let me change the script and like give you the movie that I would like to see, and then I'm just going to let you do your thing. And I think that's kind of cool because the person doing his thing and being left alone to play is Joe Dante. And Joe Dante is pretty cool. And we'll get more into Joe Dante later. But Spielberg did a lot for the movie in regards to dealing with the executives and stuff. So this was Spielberg's production company, but they still needed like investors and like other rich people to do their job and give anyone else their money. Okay? That's your job, rich people. Your job is to give your money away. And right now, y'all are sucking at your fucking job. Peer review, you stink. Anyway, so Spielberg would like speak up a lot in regards to the executives. And as usual, the executives wanted to cut the amount of gremlins in the Gremlin movie. They said there's too many gremlins in this Gremlin movie. And then Spielberg was like, okay, then we'll just take the gremlins out and we'll just call it people. And then the executives were like, meh. They lost that argument. Then the executives also wanted to remove the amazing Kate Barbecue Papa Daddy Santa monologue. Ugh, you know, the usual dream crushing and bad ideas that rich people have. Like, ugh. And so Dante and Spielberg were both like, no, we're not taking out that monologue. And Dante was like, yeah, we're not taking out that monologue. It like sets the tone for the entire fucking movie. And they kept it. Thank God. A little bit more about casting and the director. I've already mentioned Joe Dante a few times and I haven't really like talked about who he is. So Joe Dante is a director that has like a very, I'm not well-versed enough in movies to like really put my finger on like his style yet. I know, but I get very excited when I'm like looking up his stuff because I'm just like, oh shoot, that's so fun. Like there's a movie called like Piranha. There's a movie called The Howling, which is like this werewolf movie. And like it has like all these practical effects in it and stuff. And werewolf movies with practical effects are very, very impressive because it's like you have to do that whole like transition scene. And then, you know, the werewolf has to like go out and attack people and it has like ripped clothes and like all this fun stuff. For me, Joe Dante gives me like a vibe of like creature feature, B movie. sci-fi flick, but like more so sci-fi flick, not like an outer space interstellar type of sci-fi, more like a The Thing, The Blob, The Invisible Man kind of like feel. Did I make any sense? Do you understand what I mean when I say Joe Dante? That's what I mean. Like, that's the kind of vibe that he brings. And also, he doesn't seem to be an asshole. Hello! Amazing! Wow! You can be a successful filmmaker to even catch the eye of Steven Spielberg, and you don't have to be a fucking dickhead. Whoa! Crazy. And Joe Dante even said that the best part about working on movies is the actors. Hello. I think that's something we really need to remember right now. Joe Dante, we love him. I'm really excited to like look more into him and his stuff. Also, he like would always show up to set with like a white shirt, a tie, and really dark sunglasses and like this 70s like comb over floofy looking hair. We love aesthetic. Anyway, so in regards to casting and all that fun stuff, Spielberg and Dante, they didn't want anyone too recognizable in the movie. They thought it would be a distraction. And I love that. I think I sink a little deeper into movies that don't have movie stars or familiar faces. Like if you get a talented actor that I don't know, the chances of me believing what's happening on screen are very, 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 very high. But, don't get me wrong. Like, I do like a little movie star box office hit here and there. Fresh faces are fun, and I think the way to go. And it's also just cool to think that, like, they're pulling people that aren't A-list celebrities, giving someone else a chance to, like, do the damn thing. And I really like that. And also another thing about this whole movie making behind the scenes, it seems very stressful. There's a lot. This was a huge, huge production. Practical effects, explosions, blood, things are flying through the air. There's animatronics, there's puppets. So like for each puppet, there's like 5 people like around your feet. Like there's a lot going on and it seems super stressful. But it seems like everyone had a good time. It seems like everyone has like a good memory talking about this. Like I didn't find any scandal. I found some things that I was like, that would be a scandal. But I think just because everybody was having such a good time and everybody was working as a team, they just like got through it together. Like the whole cockroaches thing. There's going to be something I'm going to talk about later about a chainsaw, But it just seems like everyone had a good time. And that makes me feel even better about liking this movie. Speaking of like unfamiliar faces, there was a lot of interesting casting. Hoyt Axton. Hoyt played Mr. Peltzer, the dad, and the bad inventor. I know that town is full of assholes and stuff, but like I don't think the dad is that much of an asshole. Like I don't know his backstory. I want to know more about him and Lynn. So Hoyt, the real life person that was the actor, he isn't really an actor per se. He's a natural for sure, but he isn't really an actor. He's actually a musician, like a folk musician. And most people, like Joe Dante, knew him from his music and like a few acting gigs he had in the past. And like Hoyt has like music and rhythm like running through his blood. Like his mom, Hoyt's mom, wrote Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis Presley. The more you know. But Hoyt had such a big personality. Like the behind the scenes clips of him are pretty cool. He's just a very interesting person. And he's so interesting that he was allowed, if not encouraged, to ad-lib a majority of his lines. Like when he's explaining the rules of the Mogwai, like around the fireplace and stuff. Improv. And that behind the scenes footage of him, like he's just so cool. It just shows him with like that cool swagger. And like that word coming out of my mouth does not make sense. But unless I'm talking about Hoyt, like I really mean swagger. He knew what to say. His timing was really cool. He just seems like a really cool guy. Like people just could not get enough of him. Oh, and Zach Galligan, right? Played my favorite character, Billy. And I have nothing against Zach at all. I have nothing against his performance either. I think he played Billy to a T. So Zach Galligan, he was a small-time actor, and he ended up, being awarded the part of Billy, the butthole, after a chemistry test with Phoebe Cates. Like, that's what got him the role. During this chemistry test with Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan, like, in between takes, like, Zach just exhaled and put his head on Phoebe's shoulder. And he won the hearts of production. They were like, oh my God, he's already in love with her. Okay. Oh, goodness. And for the Gremlins and Gizmo casting, the voice of the Gremlins was Frank Welker, who voices a ton of voices in monsters. Like, he's compared to Mel Blanc, who voiced all of Looney Tunes. Frank Welker is compared to him because Frank's range is pretty incredible. He was Fred from Scooby-Doo. He did, like, Baby Kermit for Muppet Babies. And then I think he also did a lot of voices in Transformers. He does voices for Mortal Kombat. He does everything. He's an artist, okay? And he is responsible for the gravelly gremlin voice. I'm going to try to do it. The gremlin voice. Are you ready? I'm going to burp. Okay. That burp kind of sounded like it. But, okay, here we go. Wow. Water. No, there's not enough flavor on there. Oh well, I'll work on it. Oh my God, and Gizmo was Howie Mandel. I can't do Gizmo's voice because it's very like Stitch 626, but like higher. It's actually really impressive. And I think Howie Mandel does that same voice for like a cartoon from the 80s as well. Bobby's World, I think. Oh, and then Corey Feldman was in there. He was this like sassy little Christmas tree. So fun. Probably the most familiar face in the film. So like I said earlier, I didn't really know who Joe Dante was until I started, really looking into this film. I talked about Piranha, The Howling, but also he did The Burbs, Small Soldiers, Twilight Zone the movie. The guy's got the vibe. You know what I mean? Something that I did notice the first time watching this movie, so I was very proud about that. Something that I noticed about this movie is that it did have the vibe of those old monster movies, those old sci-fi movies. The Blob, The Thing, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was melodramatic. Everything was stylized, practical effects, dramatic screaming close-ups, the creatures, the goo, and even some of the acting reminded me of these old movies. Like when the cops were watching that Santa get devoured by gremlins, the big cop was like, my God, what is that? He's covered in all that stuff. Like, it really reminded me. It just really reminded me of like all those old movies, and I thought it was so cool. And then in Billy's bedroom, he always has like one of those movies playing, and it was scaring the shit out of Gizmo. Oh, and speaking of the cops, you had the sheriff, right? Played by actor Scott Brady, and he has a really packed career, and he worked a lot in the 50s and 60s. Now, his deputy with the brown curly hair, do you know who that is? Do you know who that is? That's Mike from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. That was Jonathan Banks. That blew my freaking mind. And there were a lot more cameos and Easter eggs in this movie. Speaking of Dante, he casted a lot of his favorite actors in this movie. A lot of them made an appearance. Like, this movie was able to cast Kenneth Tobey, the smoking gas station owner. He is from The Thing from Another World. Jackie Joseph, the wife of the Zionist neighbor, she was the first actress to play Audrey in The Little Shop of Horrors. And these are just like a couple of examples. Harry Carey Jr. was in there. And then there were like a few other cameos as well, like Joseph Goldsmith, the film's composer who made the song that's like dun 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 dun. Like, he made the Gremlins soundtrack. Duh, that's what a film composer does. He is on screen. You see him make a little cameo. He is the guy at the convention in the phone booth with that like cowboy hat thing. And then Steven Spielberg also like comes rolling through that same scene. And he's like in this motorized wheelchair with his like broken leg propped up. But you see him. Oh, and then the artist that Billy was talking to in the bar where Kate works at, he's like drawing this picture, right, of the mean landlord lady. He's drawing this picture and he shows it to the guy next to him. That was Chuck Jones. That was Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones is in that entire bar scene. And if you don't know who Chuck Jones is, you actually do know who Chuck Jones is. He is the guy who did Looney Tunes and The Grinch. Iconic illustrator, Chuck Jones. Very cool name. You want to know what else is very cool? The special effects, baby. Woo! You want to know something that's not cool? My booth. It is so hot in here. It is so hot in here. I'm sweating so much. It's like burning my eyes. It's making my glasses fog up. I smell horrible. Shit. Anyway. Now we are going on to the special effects, the star of the show. I bet this movie could be studied in regards to this, like all the practical effects and the use of like puppets and animatronics. The artist responsible for literally all of the Gremlin puppets, and he is the father of Gizmo. It's Chris Walas. Wow! Chris is known for his work on The Fly. The Fly 2, like The Fly the movie, not like he like works on The Fly, but he might actually work on The Fly, but like he worked on The Fly. And The Fly 2. And Raiders of the Lost Ark. So he was doing Gremlins and Raiders of the Lost Ark at the same freaking time? Jeez Louise. Well, in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, he was responsible for like melting the Nazis. We love that. It's a lot of cool work. So another cool Chris to know. So for the effects of this movie, there are so many fun little behind the scenes notes and things like that. There's so many that I'm literally just going to read off a list. I know. A list within a list. Lucky, are you crazy? Oh, okay. Let me just go through this list, have a good time before I die in this booth. The way I feel right now inside this booth, you know, at the end of the movie when Gizmo opens up the blinds and melts Stripe, and Stripe is like cooking and he's like, "Bah!" and like, and then he falls to the ground and he's just like this bubbling skeleton and then he just melts into goo. That's where I'm at. That's the level of discomfort I am feeling right now. But I'm very excited to talk about this movie, and I'm very excited to talk about the special effects because they are so yummy. So let's get to it, baby. We'll start with something that might help me cool off. The fake snow. Ooh, we love fake snow. Because this movie was shot in LA in the middle of summer. Literally July, August, like all that. It was shot in the middle of summer and everybody was like wearing like parkas and all this winter stuff. So they had to make all this fake snow. Sometimes they would bring in like giant ice trucks at night for like night scenes and stuff to make like a top layering to make it look like snow. The fake snow, it's like a mix of like potato flakes and sand or like shredded vinyl, which I thought was fun. Gizmo's markings were modeled after one of Spielberg's dogs, a Cavalier King Charles, in case you were curious. Oh, and speaking of the puppets, Joe Dante wanted all the Gremlins to be puppets. The studio suggested that the Gremlins be played by like a spider monkey in a suit. That to me sounds chaotic. I would rather have puppeteers and not a spider monkey. I'm sorry, the movie Nope, that movie freaked me the hell out about aliens and about monkeys on set. So they probably wanted the monkey because you're just paying a monkey to be a gremlin and not like 5 adult humans. But it backfired because they tested out the monkey inside of the gremlin suit inside of Joe Dante's office. And then the monkey went crazy and actually shit everywhere all over his office. Oh my God, what a job to have. You go into work. you are trying to figure out if you should use puppets or not. And then you go home and the story you tell is about how a spider monkey shit all over your office while it was wearing a gremlin costume. Come on. That is the dream. So they went with puppets. They also used a lot of animatronics as well. Like there's like a breakdancing gremlin in the bar scene. I can't think of any other ones on the top of my head, but there were a lot of animatronics. And each animatronic gremlin cost between $30,000 and $40,000 each. In security on the back lot, they had to do a car search when the team would leave just to make sure that no one was stealing those animatronic puppets. Yeah, could you imagine? Oh, the movie theater explosion. So that was a real explosion, of course. I mean, it's like they planned it. It wasn't a surprise, but that was a real explosion and it was very, very big and it was very, very hot. Phoebe Kate, she said that it was deafening and it actually singed her eyebrows. And the explosion even blew out windows over a mile away at Universal Studios. Little dangerous, right? But not as dangerous as Stripe and his chainsaw. Okay, remember I said earlier there would be a scandal, but they all were like so cool and chill about everything that they just let some shit slide, like this chainsaw moment. Okay, so Billy, the actor Billy, Zach, he was being walked around the department store that we see at the end of the movie, right? That's where Stripe dies. So they're walking through this department store and Billy is like, wow, you guys have everything. There's soccer balls, there's guns, there's a gardening center. Zach even said like, oh, wow, you even have chainsaws. And that's like an ode to Chainsaw Massacre or something like that. And then somebody was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So they ended up putting that chainsaw bit in the movie because Billy, Zach, had a really good idea. But the scandal of this, the chainsaw had the chainsaw blade on it. Usually for chainsaw stuff, like if you go to like a haunted house and like someone's chasing you with a chainsaw, that's a real chainsaw that they're chasing you with, but they take off the chain because we're all just trying to have a good time. We're not actually trying to be chopped up by chainsaws. In this scene, Stripe is coming after him with this chainsaw. Zach has to take the bat and like protect himself. And when they were showing him how to hold the bat, they're like, okay, make sure you don't shift over to one side or you don't shift over to the other side because then you will lose a finger. And it's not like this chainsaw is being held by another person. It's being held by a puppet. So that was real. Like that chainsaw was really eating up that bat. Was it a wooden bat? No, I think it was like a metal bat because if it was wood, it would be, oh my God. I really hope it was not a wooden bat. I don't think it was, but there was that. Oh, speaking of Zach. So imagine being Zach and having to play Billy. Hard enough, right? Well, Billy is the one that is like carrying and holding Gizmo. So Gizmo, the tiny little thing. Gizmo was an animatronic. God damn it. Anyway, so Gizmo is an animatronic puppet. And he's very, very teeny tiny. He's not wireless, everybody. He is not wireless. He is absolutely connected to about like 20 or 30 cables or something like that. And the cables are about like 3 to 4 times his length. So if you see Gizmo being held by anybody and Gizmo is actively moving while that person is holding them, the person that is holding Gizmo is actually taped to the nines because they have like wires going in through their clothes and the wires have to be taped to their body. So when Zach had to hold Gizmo, there's even like a really cool picture out there where Zach is holding Gizmo and you see the entire shot. You see Zach from head to toe, and he's just holding Gizmo, and everything looks normal until you look at his feet, because out of his pant legs is just a shit ton of wires coming out of his pants. Then when Gizmo was in the book bag was great because that's where all the wires and shit would be. Yeah, let's just keep talking about Gizmo. So with Gizmo, he was very expressive, right? He was scared. He was sad. He was judgmental. He was wait, I already said scared. He was scared a lot. With all of those close-ups of Gizmo's face and he's like emoting a lot, that's actually a 4-foot tall Gizmo because they had to make an even bigger Gizmo because in order to make his face move that much, a lot of technology had to go in there. And so to make space for that technology, they had to make a bigger Gizmo. Like an example of this is when Gizmo was like looking at the 3D comic book. So they had to make a 3 to 4 foot tall Gizmo for that. And they also had to make props that were in proportion to him as well. So he didn't look ginormous. And his face could peel off depending on like what emotion he was going to put off. And poor Gizmo, as he was treated on screen, he was treated off screen. Everybody hated Gizmo because he was small and tiny and fragile and he would just break all the time. Mushroom, the dog? Yeah, I said Mushroom, the dog. He bit the animatronic because he thought it was real and he broke it. And that caused a delay, or just having Gizmo in use would break him. So it caused a lot of delays. The crew would even like fall asleep while they're trying to like repair stuff because it would just take so long. I appreciate their work, but they hated him. They hated Gizmo so much. They say that, you know, anytime you saw the Gremlins treat Gizmo like shit, like throwing him down the laundry chute, tying him up to the dartboard, this was a list of actions made up by the crew, like when they would just daydream of just torturing this animatronic that caused them so much grief. Sad. Speaking of the crew for the puppets and the animatronics and stuff, the behind the scenes photos from this movie are so cool. For example, there's this one picture of the science teacher scene when Billy, the butthole, is bringing in one of Gizmo's babies to the science teacher to do experiments on. Like, there's a picture from that scene. The animatronic is in the cage on the table. We have the science teacher, we have Billy. And then you see all of these cables running down to the floor. Then you see a bunch of adults, like crew members, and they all have like these like puppet guns. That's all. It just looks like a gun, but it's like with a lot of triggers on it. And everybody's holding one, and they're all looking at a TV screen, and they're trying to sync up their movements because they all had to coordinate together. They were making all of these facial expressions. And especially for this scene, the animatronic is getting its blood drawn. So the animal is like in pain. He's pulling back. He's confused. He's hurt. He's scared. He's angry. And they're all like, so many people are like making that happen. It's crazy and amazing and beautiful. And they did such a good job. And I think for the movie, it was like 5 months altogether to shoot, I think. And it was like 3 months with the actors. And then they took a 3-week break so Chris Wallace could like prepare for a 2-month nonstop shoot with the Gremlin puppets. And there was like hundreds of puppets. Like that bar scene with the cockroaches and stuff. I think that took like a week to shoot. And it's like what? Like a 3-minute scene? But they had so many Gremlins in there. Oh, so cool. They were wearing different little costumes. They had props that were just their size. Ooh. And now we're going to wrap everything up with the debut. Okay, so the debut. Let's just say like reviews were mixed when it came out. Like I knew it was a cultural phenomenon, like almost like overnight. I know the movie made more money the second weekend than it did the first weekend. There's Gremlin merch everywhere. Even still to this day, there's Gremlin merch everywhere. They made Gremlin baby toys. They made Gremlin lunchboxes, outfits, everything. And everyone started calling their pet Gizmo. When I was a dog groomer, the amount of Shih Tzus, Chihuahuas, King Charles, just all the small breed dogs were named Gizmo. And I still support it. It's a very cute name. But when the movie came out, the reviews were mixed. Even one critic called it icky mayhem. which is a phenomenal stage name. So if someone could just please do something with that, that'd be great. But this movie, along with Raiders of the Lost Ark, both Spielberg films, are the reason we have the rating PG-13. Yeah, dude. Before 1984, that's when this movie came out, before 1984, there were no PG-13 ratings, which means there were no such thing as a PG-13 movie before 1984. And honestly, that makes Corvette Summer make so much more sense in regards to it being a PG movie. I remember seeing the poster for Corvette Summer and just knowing that I would see boob. And I did. But I was like, this is a PG movie? And the cursing and drinking and violence and crime? But now it makes sense. It wasn't innocent enough for G, and it wasn't bad enough for R, which is just like Gremlins. So when Gremlins came out, June 1984, I know, a Christmas horror movie that was released in the summer, bold. So June 1984, parents are excited to take their kids to go see the new Steven Spielberg movie. You know, the one with the movie poster that is edited the same way as E.T., and there is a little alien on the cover who's cute and fluffy. This movie must be about E.T.'s son. But it wasn't about E.T.'s son. It was a horror movie with gremlins that smoked and drank and flashed and killed. So a lot of parents were complaining, and there were similar reactions to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Chris Walas and Steven Spielberg are freaking everybody out. So it was suggested that maybe you should make a new rating, a PG-13 rating. And 2 months after Gremlins was released, PG-13 was born. Yay! So now we know PG movies before the year of 1984 are of another breed. Beware. Kind of love that for myself. And parents, beware. If you're trying to get your kids involved in the classics, maybe do a pre-watch before you sit them down for a PG film that dates before mid-80s. That's all I have for you on the Gremlins. I know, and I still left out so much. Oh my god. If you haven't seen this movie, I'm sorry I spoiled the entire thing, but if you have seen this movie, I hope I told you one thing that you didn't already know, but the chances of that are slim. Yeah, so that does it for Gremlins. Now we know where PG-13 comes from. Now we know how young PG-13 is. PG-13, the rating is like Gen X, or it's like millennial? 84? Probably Gen X. But yeah, very young. PG-13, she is very young. And it makes me want to like look into PG movies from like before 1984 just to see what kind of hellscape those things are. But thanks to Steven Spielberg. Thank you to all the Chris's out there. And next week, we're going to be moving on to Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, and just before you ask, I did not know who Roman Polanski was, and I did not know that he was not allowed back in this country, right? Anyway, we get into it next week. We get into it next week. If you don't know who Roman Polanski is, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'll tell you next week. So I will see you then, babies. Bye-bye. Hi. Yeah.